Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33. Good evening and welcome to Mixing It Up. My name is Barry Ross. Within the next 30 to 45 days, this show's in the process of rebranding itself to get a much broader audience. We are going into an entire different venue with our guests. Tonight, we broadcast to you live on UHF TV 33 in conjunction with Comcast 20 in most of Detroit. You can catch us on the World Wide Web, TV 33, WHPR.com. You can see all my shows continuously within 3 days after each show on YouTube, Ross, R-O-S-S, BD51. You can go to my website, barryross.org. And of course, my Facebook page, Mixing It Up with Barry Ross. You join, and then you hit the videos, and you'll be able to see all my shows and all my work in the community. I encourage you. The station encourages you. We want you to get involved. The numbers are scrolling across the screen. They're all 313. They're all 868 numbers, 0342, 0351, 4336. Next week, a week from tomorrow, I'm starting my new web show on itswebtv.com. It's going to start Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. I encourage you to get involved. Like this, it's going to have an on-demand feature. It's Web TV, remixing it up with Barry Ross. This evening, I'm very, very exceptionally proud to have with us this evening Mr. Dan Krickbaum. He is the Director of Michigan Civil Rights. He's going to be with us in a few minutes, and we are going to get into some informative aspects of this department as to how you can get help in this community in terms of discrimination and various information that you might need from the Michigan Civil Rights. Michigan is the only state in the United States that has a civil rights indoctrinated into the Michigan Constitution, into its state constitution. We're very lucky to have him here tonight. So in a couple minutes, we're going to be talking with Mr. Dan Krickbaum. And this show is dedicated to Lindsay Wright L. It's his birthday today. So Lindsay, if you're watching, happy birthday. I love you. We're supposed to have tonight Ali L. He runs a private amateur gym, and most of you know that boxing is my favorite sport. And the United States Amateur Boxing Association, under the auspices of AIVA, which is the International Boxing Association for Amateurs, had to shut down all the liability insurance on all the gyms. There was there was a racial remark said by the vice president of the USA Boxing Association, and they had to let him go. They suspended all insurances. That means the gyms couldn't train, they couldn't even exercise, in fear that they might get sued because of an injury or an issue. So now I just found out. I spoke to the president of the United States USA Boxing Association. They now have insurance. So I'm hoping that Mr. Ali L. It's because of him that I went to bat for him and found out about this insurance. Hopefully he's going to be here a little later on. And lastly, Minister Victor Muhammad is in the house now. Tonight, Victor and I are going to have some dialogue. Victor is the director of the Michigan Ministries of the prison system in Michigan. And tonight, Angela Davis just spoke at the Fellowship Chapel last week. And Minister was fortunate enough to stay a little later because of his privileges and meet with her and talk about her. And the things that I learned about the Jews in Palestine blew me away. We're going to have some interesting dialogue tonight. I'm going to stay around and talk to the minister at 10 o'clock. And as you know, it's Halloween. Minister Shabazz and I, New Marcus Garvey Movement, Detroit Coalition Against Violence, that's me, and other community groups, we have formed a collaborative community patrol. Right now, in 10 minutes, everybody's meeting up at 1500 East State Fair, and they're going to leave from there, and they're going to patrol all over the North End, and then we're coming to Highland Park. And right after my show, I'm going to be joining them. And I'm going to be driving down the street with my bullhorn and waking everybody up and let them know that we love them and they got to get involved in their community. We're working in conjunction with Mayor DeAndre Windham in Highland Park, and the police chief in Highland Park and Detroit. And we want to make a difference. Last year we did this. There were no incidences, no fire, no violence occurred when we were out. We had about 45 cars last year. So please, 1500 East State Fair tonight at the True Oracles of God Ministries. We're going to have a caravan. We have patrol lights on our cars, and we're strictly volunteering. We're going to be out till 2 o'clock in the morning tonight, and tomorrow we're meeting there again, 1500 East State Fair. You can call me, 313-355-2807. That's my hotline. If you need any information about this, there's going to be food there tonight, and tomorrow we're starting at 7. I just want to let everybody know that my show has some great opportunities for commercial sponsorship. I have very reasonable rates. I'm very flexible. I got many different options for you to get involved in this show. And as you know very well, you watch this show, that I go out in the community and I take my people that back this show into the community and back them. We have a quick call. We don't have a call. You can contact me, 248-417-9696. Listen, the city of Detroit does not have the ability to provide public safety for us in the way that we need it. You don't want to come home from work with your family and not be able to walk your child around the block, not be able to walk the dog, worry that if your wife gets home before you, that something's going to happen to her. We're encouraging you. We got a way out of this because the police can't always be here for us. You know, they close at 4 in the afternoon till 8 in the morning. You can't go into a precinct to get help. And when you call, 9 out of 10 times you're lucky if they come out. Nothing against the police department, but they have so many issues. Economic constraints, they're overworked. They've taken salary cuts. So here's the solution. It's you. It's us. Start a block club in your community. It's imperative. Even if there's 3 houses on your block, we can help you. You can go over to the next block and the next block. Set up a command post on every street in a car, watching your street at night. And you know what? We drove around last night for a couple hours. I was amazed how many houses don't have their porch lights on. When I grew up, and I'm 61 years old, every house on our block, once it hit dusk, the lights were on. Turn your porch lights on. It's not that expensive to run your porch lights. I encourage you to get involved in your community. It's the only way. Too many people are dying. You know, we just concluded boarding up our 68th abandoned home in Detroit, cleaned up properties. Nobody's taken care of their trash. It took us 45 days to get the trash picked up, and if it wasn't for Ficano, Charlie LaDuff came out and got Ficano to bring 5 dump trucks. We couldn't get the city of Detroit to clean up the trash. We had to get Ficano. It's a real shame, but at least we got it. So we boarded up 35 homes, had 300 college students from Wayne with us, planted trees, all at Nolan Middle School, a EAA school. And they worked with us the first day, too. So, okay, this is a community show. My mission, my goal with you is to inform you and to educate you and to apprise you of the organizations within the government, the programs within the government to help you. I have with us right now, I want to introduce you all to Mr. Dan Kirkbaum.
Thank you, Barry.
Kirkbaum.
How are you?
Nice to be on your show.
Thank you. And by the way, tell everybody what department you represent, because I missed it.
I'm the director of the Michigan Department of Civil Rights.
Mm.
But before we get into civil rights so much, I just want to mention a great man that passed away last week, Emanuel Stewart.
He did pass away?
He did pass away. And in Chicago, he was in the hospital, I think. So in an earlier career, I worked for Coleman Young, very special leader. Very special leader. And one of his good friends was Emanuel Stewart. And Emanuel boxed in one of our recreation department gyms. I ran the Parks and Recreation Department.
Did you see Emanuel box there?
Yeah, yeah. He won the Golden Gloves there, right. And so he took over Kronk Gym, and Mayor Young gave him a contract to train young fighters, and he did all that work in Kronk Gym. And then came along Tommy Hearns when he was about 12 or 13 years old, and Emanuel could see the promise there. And so he was, of course, instrumental in getting Thomas Hearns, along with several others, as
Goodwin,
champions of the world. So he did pass away, and he was only 68 years old. Had a remarkable history for the city of Detroit. And
nightclubs, restaurants.
Helped a lot of people.
You know, I had a conversation with a boxing.
I don't want to get us off track.
No, no, no.
We should honor.
Yes, and our sympathies go out for Emanuel's family. I just want to say real quick, I spoke to Tracy Gilliam, who's a big boxing promoter here, and he said that there were so many rumors he wasn't sure, and then I have neglected to see any news about it. I don't know what, okay.
Yeah,
But let's move on. We have a couple calls real quick. Do you mind?
Oh, no.
Okay. Good evening. You're on the air.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Stevie?
Yeah.
How are you?
Fine.
You're going to turn your porch lights on tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have anything to say for our guests? This is
I vote Obama.
You voted for Obama.
Yeah.
That is wonderful. That's who we want you to vote for.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, you feeling all right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know we still owe you breakfast, honey.
Yeah.
Okay?
All right.
All right, thanks for the call.
Bye-bye.
Good evening, you're on the air.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Yes, you had the right person on your show. I had filed a case with the Michigan Department of Civil Rights about Teresa Maxey Apartments. And I know a lot of the when you file a complaint down there at Cadillac Place, this has to do with discrimination. And this has to do with, they're supposed to be forwarded to the the Justice Department. Because federal law states anyone that files a discrimination lawsuit, and you're not supposed to retaliate against that person. And me and my wife, we used to live over there behind Mary Grove College at Teresa Maxey Apartment. And state law states you can't discriminate against marital status, race, religion, national origin. So the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, Jenny McGuire, who's an excellent investigator with the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, got us into the apartment. But after we got in, we lived there for 4 years, and we've been retaliated against up until I had to move from there. And Ms. Poindexter works with HUD, but they were supposed to forward this to the Department of Justice, to Barbara McQuaid's office, and they never did do that. So I was wondering, how do you go about once you file a case with the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, but federal law, I think it's 504 something within the federal law that says that you cannot retaliate against someone that files a discrimination lawsuit. And that's where the system has broke down. And I was wondering what can be done to fix that.
Well, are you alleging that somebody in the Civil Rights Department retaliated?
No, not someone in the Civil Rights Department. The management company that runs Teresa Maxey Apartments over there right behind Mary Grove College. It's called Trinity Management.
Well, we'd be glad to have you either over the phone or by email or coming into one of our offices. We'd be glad to look into that.
Yeah, Jenny McGuire is at the Cadillac place right there on the boulevard. She has the whole case file. So I had spoke with some of the folks up in Lansing at your office, but as far as getting this referred over to the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, it's been like trying to pull teeth.
Hey, excuse me if I may. Why don't you call me tomorrow, and I'll call him for you, and I'll forward this to him personally. Can we do that?
Okay, that would be great. But I'm glad that you have the right guests on your show.
Okay. Thank you. Call me tomorrow after 11 in the morning.
All right.
All right. Thank you. Okay. We have another call, and then I want to get into your department. Good evening. You're on the air. Hello. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about your the functions of your department, and if you have any suggestions anywhere you want to go, we discuss this.
Okay.
Let's talk about what you're all about, this department. And
So we've been working a long time at Civil Rights. Starting next year, we will be celebrating our 50th anniversary. The department started in 1963, 1964. We're the only state department that does civil rights, and we're the only department among the 18 departments in Michigan that actually is inscribed in the Michigan Constitution. So we have two major functions. For many years, we had one major function that was investigation and enforcement of civil rights laws. Recently, we made a policy change for our department. We decided that we do a great job in the investigation sphere. We get about 12,000 calls a year alleging discrimination. And that goes through our intake center. We take a look at which of those are most likely to have validity. And so we then investigate about 5,000 of those cases each year. And we settle about 2,500 cases.
wow, that's great.
So enforcement, even though we've lost about 40% of our department through the Angler and into the governor that I worked for, Governor Granholm, but we're still doing a very good job of enforcement. Where we've gone off on a new track, which I think will pay huge dividends for the public, and that is to work on preventing discrimination. I mean, we can, stick with enforcing discriminatory laws, but if we don't make a big dent in terms of helping people and institutions along with us prevent discrimination.
How are you educating, corporations and businesses on
Well, we a number of businesses have to come through our company in order to get a state contract. So any state contract that's over $100,000, the last stop on the line is the Civil Rights Department.
Okay.
And we review their demographics to see how diverse they are and how they are diverse and how inclusive they are. There's a difference between diversity and inclusion.
Okay.
You can have, a company of 500 people, and you can have a quarter of those people be Latino and African American and Native American, and you might consider that some fairly good diversity. But if they're all working on the flowers and the gardens and the maintenance of the company, they're not really an inclusive company. So we look for inclusion as well as diversity.
You encourage this. You encourage them to get them involved in in the hierarchy in the companies, what have you.
We do.
In management, what have you.
We do, but first we give them some feedback on their demographics. And then next, we offer training to those companies in terms of diversity and inclusion training. If they have problems figuring out how their human resources department can find a way to make that company more diverse, we help them with that kind of thing. So since Prop 2 was taken away from the state of Michigan, we no longer can force them to do those things.
Proposition 2, which
But-
was?
Right.
Which was what? Tell everybody what Proposition.
Oh, Proposition 2 no longer voted to no longer allow um, discriminatory actions to be included as a civil right discretion. And so we cannot force affirmative action onto companies. But we can, we're pretty good persuaders. We're good salespeople.
Can I just want to ask you a couple of things that maybe a lot of people don't know, maybe my audience, that discrimination we discuss is broad. It just doesn't have to be race or religion. Tell everybody what some other instances of discrimination that might.
So it could be if it could be because of your religion. It could be because you have a disability. It could be ageism. Either somebody discriminates against you because you're too young or you're too old. And then all these weight, height in some instances.
Unattractive, technically. I mean, they can fire you for whatever reason they want. But the news used to be very guilty of this. They used to like to have aesthetically pleasing, beautiful newscasters. So, I mean, if they fire you and you can prove that you're getting fired because of your appearance.
That's a very good example. If and there's been a movie written about that very same thing. I think the broadcaster on the air was in Arizona, and she was getting older, and so she got fired. And they hired somebody younger and supposedly better looking, and that is a discriminatory action.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can't do that. It also can happen in different sectors of our society. Discrimination sometimes can happen with housing. It can happen with education. It can happen with public services.
Can we talk a little bit about education? Discrimination in education, what some examples might be?
Well, one of the best examples right now is that a sister organization to us, the ACLU, they have filed with the federal government a discriminatory suit on behalf, I think, of several students in Highland Park and the Detroit Public Schools, saying that their education is so inferior and so lacking in quality that this is a discriminatory act. And so they filed it in, I can't remember which court area, but they filed that, and that will be heard sometime in federal court. So that's one of our sister organizations.
In January, they're having I think it's going to Congress. And I think that, if I'm not mistaken, I think that there were students themselves that were involved in a suit, feeling that their education was being shot at.
I wouldn't be surprised, and I think one of those students may have been in Highland Park.
Yes,
So-
it was coming. I think there were several.
Right.
To the best.
I was
of my-
thinking one was also in, one or two was in Detroit, but that may not be. It may have been just Highland Park.
Okay.
So in some of these prevention initiatives, one of the most interesting is bullying. We're starting a statewide anti-bullying effort. The governor passed a bullying law last year, didn't have any implementation factors in it, and so we're going to take charge of a statewide anti-bullying initiative where we go into schools and we work with those schools to show the problems with bullying, the results that are so difficult for youngsters. There are a lot of research studies that show that youngsters that are severely bullied as they're growing up, below 10, above 10, those that are severely bullied often resort to crime. And so bullying can lead to crime among
rage and anger. The governor himself
Correct.
claims that when he was a youngster, maybe this is where this is born within him, but I've heard cases where children were bullied and they wouldn't go back to school. I've heard cases where young people were mentally challenged, disabled mentally, and were being made fun of, and they wouldn't go back to school. So if it prevents you from functioning anything that prevents you from ordinary life, right? That takes you out of the game of life, is to me is a shame.
So there's usually three actors in the play when a bullying goes on. There's the victim. Oftentimes the victim needs some help. There's the bully. They certainly need some help. And then there are the bystanders. And in many situations, it's the bystanders that really are at fault as much as anyone, because they just are afraid to do anything. So developing courage in young people so that they can step forward when there's an instance of bullying, that's something that's very important. So we'll be in schools across Michigan over
That's
the next several
wonderful.
years working on this bullying initiative.
Our lines are lighting up. I just want to say that our society at large, it seems like that we have an affinity towards watching violence. I mean, imagine driving on an expressway and you see a wreck. Everyone's got to look. When there's a beating, I mean, often on the internet, they're taking pictures and everyone's cheering them on. We got a whole new mentality. Let's
That's
take
a very good point.
Let's take another call. Good evening. You're on the air. Hello.
Yes, I had to call back. Emmanuel Stewart's funeral is going to be at my church at Greater Grace, so if anybody wants to
When is
attend,
that?
I think it's coming up sometime this coming week. But they can call Sister K, is Bishop Charles Ellis, the Executive Secretary, and find out exactly what day it's going to be. But it's going to be held at Greater Grace Church on West 7 Mile in Shiawassee.
Wonderful.
But they can call the church for more information.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for letting us
You're welcome.
know.
Thank you. Okay. Specifically, within your, what's the majority of complaints and calls? I mean, I guess it's different all the time. In the last year, let's say.
It's actually been pretty similar, let's say the last 5 years.
Okay.
So race is still number one, always seems to be number one. I mean, race has probably been the number one issue in civil rights complaints for about the last 10 years.
Which race seems to be getting the most oppressed, so to speak?
I think the highest number of people that are discriminated against because of race are African Americans. Latinos would be second. And so race is a major factor. Gender used to be the second largest complaint. Disability, though, now has moved into the second slot for the most number of discriminatory cases, and then gender comes after that. Then the others that also have large numbers include religion. Age is becoming a more serious violation as we get to be an older society. We have more older people that experience discrimination. So those are the protected classes where we get the most cases.
I could go on and on with you. I could talk to you for 6 hours. You know, I was listening to Angela Davis last week, and she had mentioned Islamophobia. The incident, whoever is claiming the blame for the 9/11, let's just say it's coming from, there were some terrorist fanatics from the Muslim faith. What the few do in the name of God or Allah or what have you, destroy the credibility on the rest of a faith or religion throughout the world. Groups hate groups love to hurt the rest. And look what we do. We profile. You take the Muslim community, the Arabic community, since 9/11. Look at the difference we look at things. People get on a plane, they think twice. We are pigeonholed in a mindset to believe that the majority should be punished by the few. And wars start. I mean, wars start. It's
Right.
really, one group jihad, whatever terrorist group it is only a part. And I say this all the time, and I'm not getting into religion. There has never been any religious doctrine ever composed since the very beginning of time where its an inherent nature was anything but love and peace. So when a group speaks in the name of God or Allah or what have you, in the name of hate, that is false. And we need, and throughout the world, we need to recognize the fact that we're all really inherently, a baby only knows love until we imprint this on them. And we suffer, humanity suffers by a few. Look at this guy, this Terry, this
Jones.
minister. Yeah, Terry Jones.
Terry Jones,
He is
yeah.
sick.
Well, we have a very strong, and the Civil Rights Department participates in a very strong movement called the Interfaith Movement. So we have a number of prominent Jewish rabbis.
I go to those.
Islamic imams. You go to one of the temples?
Dawood Walid.
Walid,
Yes, he was on my show, and I participate in those. I'm
So
sorry.
we have a very strong interfaith alliance. On Sunday, we spent 4 hours with the leadership of the Sikh community because they had probably been mistaken when
in Wisconsin?
Yeah, in Wisconsin, when 6 Sikhs were killed. Many people think that they thought that was an Islamic mosque and not a Sikh temple of worship. So again, that's why religion is one of the key components and one of the bases of filing a discrimination complaint because people value their religions, and religion should be something that is voluntary and works toward the greater good.
Thank you. I went to the protests at the Sikhs temple in Plymouth, and I didn't know I didn't know that there was an interfaith last Sunday, and I'm trying to put together several religious a panel where we can have more than pray. We need to heal one another by getting out our so-called prejudices and ignorances. We have been fighting so long, and everything is so misunderstood. Why not have some dialogue and then prayer?
Yeah, good.
Let's
good
talk
point.
about. Let's talk about. We've been fighting. The Jews and the Arabs been fighting for so long. I don't even know what they're fighting.
That's one of, when I say that the Civil Rights Department is now moving toward prevention. You know, that's one thing that we do. If you let us know you want to do that, we'll give you a choice of rabbis, imams, ministers, priests, Buddhist clergy.
Will you let them know that that we want to have dialogue,
you-
that we want, without attacking the other person? Just a case in point. Like I mentioned, I'm Jewish. I had posted a video of the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, and my family couldn't believe. Louis Farrakhan, this is my belief. Louis Farrakhan is taken by many as an inciter of trying to, like a rebel rouser. I believe personally, he states the truth and facts. And contrary to what a lot of other people might believe, we don't need to take somebody that just says a few words as an assault or attack on us. Why not me give you the right to think however you think, and that's how you think, and we can have dialogue about it. I can't make, there's an old saying, I'd rather be happy than right.
I don't know that saying. Where'd
Okay.
that come from?
I've heard it for years.
Well, we could argue about Farrakhan, but what is certainly true is that so many people that are Muslims, they are peaceful, loving people. They don't rabble rouse. They live a quiet, oftentimes very devoted life to their religion. So we shouldn't use one or two people that are criticized or put out there as
a template,
yeah.
not to put words in your mouth.
No, but that's a good It's a good word.
Can we let's take a brief break, and we're going to come right back. And then I want you to give everybody the contact information, and if there's any areas you want to discuss in the mainframe of your department, let's do that. Okay? We're going to be right back.
1,000 men's suits. And right now at Sermons, you can buy one and get two free. Not one suit, but two free. Buy one suit, bring two friends. Buy one suit, bring two relatives. Buy one suit, get two free. Bring your pastor, your boss, your teacher. Buy one suit and get two free. Sermons with 90 years of experience, carrying jeans, exotic skin shoes, sets, shirts, leathers, sweaters, everything for the well-dressed man. Buy one suit, get two free. Sermons on Randolph in downtown Detroit.
What has Governor Snyder done for you lately? Well, let me tell you about just some of his crimes and sins against you and I. The takeover and dismantling of Detroit and Highland Park school system without oversight of the people. Public Act 4, super-empowered emergency managers. The takeover of Detroit's water system. Permanent lifetime removal of women with children of state assistance. No bridge card, no bridge. Ignoring the democratic process, going around the state legislators and his own party to build an unnecessary bridge. The dissent agreement that he rammed down Mayor Bing's throat. Why reward bad behavior? If you want to send a message to the governor, then vote yes on Proposal 6. I'm Minister Malik Shabazz. I approve this message. To volunteer, call 313-646-3375.
Paid for by the Garbage Lady Inc.
The expense of boarding up abandoned homes within the city of Detroit and Highland Park. For more information, contact Barry Ross at 248-417-9696 or Minister
What
Malik
has Governor
Shabazz
Snyder
at
done for you?
3375.
You are going to want to check me out first Wednesday of every month. Join me, Barry Ross, remixing it up. It's webtv.com. I'm going to be reporting to you the facts and the truth, the way our society is run in Metro Detroit. 8 p.m., bringing you featured guests in relation to community, education, violence, what's happening on the streets in our town. It's Web TV, Barry Ross, remixing it up. Wednesdays at 8 p.m., the first Wednesday of every month. Remember, remixing it up with Barry Ross on itswebtv.com.
All right, we're back live on Mixing It Up, and I have to apologize. I haven't been able to get to all the phone calls, so you have my humble apologies. We're here tonight with the Director of Michigan Civil Rights, Mr. Dan Krickbaum, and we want to talk about, voting's coming up a week from today. We're going to talk about voter rights, and Dan's going to give you some information how to contact the department in the event that you have any discriminatory cases or what have you. Dan, let's talk about voting.
So, that could be our most important civil rights in this country. I mean, if we don't have a strong democratic vote, democratic with a small d, if we don't get more people voting, I mean, the number of people that vote in major elections these days is almost criminal. It's like somebody is forcing people not to leave their home and go vote. So there's
some truth to that.
There's probably no civil right that would be greater than voting. So I hope that everybody gets out to vote. If you need information, or if while you're voting you are discriminated against in some way, then call the Civil Rights Department. You can call us at 1-800-4823-3604, or you can go to our website at www.michigan.gov/MDCR.
Dan, if I'm voting and I look like I might not be from this country, does someone have the right to come up to me in the voting district and ask me for my citizenship papers? Is that right?
Well, it would not be right if you were a registered voter. You've already shown when you register to vote that you're a citizen. And so anybody that is a registered voter, in my mind, should not be questioned or asked for documentation
Thank
or
you.
anything like that.
Thank you. It's a tactic.
It is.
It's a
To
tactic.
suppress the vote.
To suppress the vote.
Right.
And I'm a big proponent. I mean, I was thinking that this asking people to substantiate themselves with the ID. What did you think about this policy, this new policy? Isn't this a new policy in Michigan or the country, or some states have it, where they had to go produce ID, get the ID to register?
No, that's always been true. You by law, you have to be a citizen to get registered.
Okay.
So once
but
you're
there's-
registered, there's no need to look. If you're on the registered list at your polling place, nobody should be asking you to see your ID or for a driver's license to show where you live and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Give out your phone number and the website a couple times, and then if you want to get out of here with Melanie. Melanie, I have to thank you for coming out here tonight, and you guys'
So
busy
the
schedule.
phone number is 1-800-4823-604. And the website is www.michigan.gov/MDCR.
All right, now this is Michigan Civil Rights.
Michigan Department of Civil Rights.
Michigan Department of Civil Rights. Now, if somebody has an issue in the city, why would they want to call Lansing? Why would they want to go over the city? Because they're not getting satisfaction in the city? I mean, what would be the purpose?
We have one phone line across the whole state. So they are calling our offices in Cadillac Place.
Oh, okay.
So are the people in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
Calling our offices at Cadillac Place.
Okay, fine.
So
All right.
anybody in the city, can either come to our office in Cadillac Place, the former GM headquarters, or they can call us, or they can go to the website. They can send us an email. They can do this 24 hours a day, and so it's
Okay.
very easy to register a complaint.
All right, it's been a pleasure interviewing. I just want to give everybody this number again. It's 800-482-3604. This is the Michigan Department of Civil Rights, and this is Mr. Dan Crickbaum. I'm saying it correctly.
You are.
And
Most people don't. Thank you.
Dan has been around. Dan has come from the what did you do with the Coleman Young administration?
I ran the Parks and Recreation Department
Boy,
for
do we
16 years.
We need help now. They're not barely cutting the grass at any of these parks, and I could go on and on. All right, you need to go. So I'm going to relinquish you. I'm disappointed. I really appreciate you coming out here tonight.
We hope
And
you have us back again sometime.
my pleasure. And we're sit here for once. We're going to take a quick break and close this out, and we're going to be back with looks like Minister Victor Muhammad. Okay.
Out first Wednesday of every month. Join me, Barry Ross, remixing it up. It's webtv.com. I'm going to be reporting to you the facts and the truth, the way our society is running in Metro Detroit. 8 p.m., bringing you featured guests in relation to community, education, violence, what's happening on the streets in our town. It's Web TV, Barry Ross, remixing it up. Wednesdays at 8 p.m., the first Wednesday of every month. Remember, remixing it up with Barry Ross on itswebtv.com.
We are the faces of Detroit. We are the faces of Delray.
We are the faces of Delray. Governor Snyder wants to put us out of our homes by building a bridge in our front yard.
Homes where we raised our families.
A community where we buried our loved one.
Delray is struggling, but it's not lifeless. It's a community of hopes and dreams.
Governor Snyder.
Invest,
not destroy.
Hey, come on. Man, what is taking so long? Let's play.
Just getting a number.
Whose number?
Narcotics Anonymous.
Hey, if you need to talk.
No way, it's not for me, it's for my brother. He's constantly wasted. Come on, hoop time. Can you tell me about NA?
Call Narcotics Anonymous. We can help you.
The following program does not reflect the views and opinions of Channel 33, its management, or sponsors. You're watching Power Talk on your community TV station, UHF TV 33, Detroit, Highland Park.
Welcome to Metro Foodland, where you will always find courteous service. Our hardworking staff always gives their all to maintain our dairy fresh and wholesome products, cold cuts, premium meats, and of course, we have some of the freshest produce around. Check out our deli and bistro. We also carry specialty items such as Tanisha Noni, Water Station alkaline water, and much, much more. If we don't have it, just ask, and we'll do our best to get it. Remember to ask how to join our Healthy Rewards Club. Seniors and ladies, always ask for an escort to your vehicle. We'll see you soon at Detroit's own community grocer, Metro Foodland, located at 18551 Grand River. That's 18551 Grand River, near Finkel and the Southfield Freeway. Remember, that's Metro Foodland.
Tuesdays, 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33. Good evening and welcome back to Mixing It Up. I'm Barry Ross, and I am beyond proud and pleased to have the Minister Victor Muhammad with us tonight again. Victor, thank you again for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
You've been a frequent guest over the last 30 days, and I have to tell you how much I appreciate the work that you do and the work that you've done on this show. And Victor interviewed a man that just got out of prison after 46 years?
43 years.
43 years.
Mm-hmm.
You work in the prison ministry for the state of Michigan.
Yes.
This is a very honorable man, and from the Nation of Islam. And Victor and I have spoken in the past before on my show. We did an interview. And tonight, we're going to close this month out with Victor, but Victor's planning on coming back and doing a special interview, and we're not going to tell you yet when he's ready. Did you see the text I sent you today?
Yes.
Okay. I did a little background check, and I'm familiar with that. Okay, but I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so Victor, do we want to talk about voting right now? You want to talk about your involvement, the nation's involvement in the community on Mondays and tonight? You guys are doing something special with Highland Park, and hopefully we'll catch up with you on a patrol.
Well, we can talk about that, but as a segue into voting, and with my area being prison reform ministry, many misconceptions about the formerly incarcerated are included when it pertains to voting. Michigan is one of the states where a formerly incarcerated individual can vote once they're out. Many places in the country, they don't allow it, and around voting time every year, especially around a presidential vote that is so critical at this hour, those rumors have once again surfaced. A lot of rumors have surfaced across the state, and one of them has always been that the formerly incarcerated cannot vote, but that is not true in the state of Michigan. In the state of Michigan, if you are released, regardless if you are a convicted felon or if you had misdemeanor time or whatever jail time or prison time, you are allowed to vote. So don't allow those that do not want to see your vote cast and those who we know which direction you're more than likely going to vote. There are going to be people there to intimidate you. There's going to be people at the polls to scare you, and they're going to say, oh, we're going to look to see if you owe back child support, if you have tickets or anything like that. There's going to be those who want to be unjust to people who've paid their debt to society, and they want to keep status quo going. So they're going to be there to try to intimidate you, but you just take that strong armor of God with you and your faith with you, and you show up to the polls and cast your vote, which is your constitutional right here in America, so that you can be one amongst those counted. And that's what they're afraid of. They know that you're going to come out and you're going to vote in a certain manner in their opinion, so they want to make sure that they use every tactic on the planet Earth to intimidate you from voting. You have every right to vote, and if anyone inhibits you to vote, every precinct and poll station will have police there. You go to that policeman and you point out that individual who is denying you your constitutional right, and you demand that he be arrested, because that is a major violation of federal law.
Victor, it's to my understanding they can also be awaiting a trial but not convicted. Could they be in jail awaiting as well as being released? But if someone's on trial, right? They haven't been formally charged with anything in particular. I mean, what do they have a right to vote in jail?
They cannot be in custody. That is the key.
They cannot be in custody.
They cannot be in custody. If they are in custody, being held on a habeas corpus or case or anything like that, if they're in custody, they have to surrender that right.
Do you know that somebody came on here on somebody else's show and said they could even be in jail and they could vote?
In some states.
Wow.
In some states.
Here they cannot.
In some states they are allowed. And that is where they what they were doing in those states. They were sending multiple ballots to the prisons.
Oh, God.
So that, let's say, and you could use Michigan as an example. If the prison, most of the prisons here in Michigan are in very rural areas. So in a rural area, and you got a prison that has an additional 1,500, 2,000 people, you can get a lot of government funding for your rural area if you use all of them as registered voters in counting them as the citizens of that particular city, even though most of the incarcerates come from Detroit. But they're in, let's say, Ionia, Michigan, Pugsley, Michigan, those Kinchelo, Michigan, all these obscure areas. All of a sudden, you have a voting block there, and that's what they've used in the past to count them as citizens.
Well, okay. Prison now, going in a little different direction. Prison itself in this country, we talk, is an industrial complex. It's a business.
Most definitely.
What are some of the names or some of the prison businesses or corporations that own some of these prisons?
Geo Group.
Geo Group.
Geo Group is in the process as we speak of trying. There's a former youth authority called Baldwin Youth Authority that is owned by Geo Group, and they had it from 1999 to, I believe, 2005. It was privately held for them for the youth authority. It had some of the most atrocious crimes and hideous conditions and situations that has been known to man in this state. They were called Wackenhut at that time. They owned it under the name Wackenhut. They've since changed their name to Geo Group, and they took that facility, which they own, they renovated. It was a 500-bed facility. They've added additional 1,500 beds. They have two representatives that are lobbying to get it passed so that they can open that prison as a private prison here in the state of Michigan, where Michigan is required to keep that prison 90% full as part of the contract.
Oh my God.
And they're also required to supply them, if they do not keep it 90% full, they are to pay them X amount of dollars. Wackenhut, also, like I said, is Geo Group now. They have solicited 48 of the governors in the state, in the United States of America, to subcontract their prison programs to them and allow them to operate their program for profit. Now, the difference is for profit, and they always sell it as it being cheaper to run it as a privately held prison as opposed to state held, but the statistics prove that it costs in excess $15,000 to $20,000 per inmate more to operate a prison as a private prison than it is to be state-owned. And when you have the other incentives involved of keeping 90% population and different things like that. And another thing that for-profit prison is, it is exactly that, it is a business. State-run prisons have a minimum requirement of education, minimum requirement of nutrition, and minimum requirement of activity, and a ratio of guards per prisoner. And the thing is when you get into a privately held prison, that is at the of the owner, because his job is to make profit. And what
bottom line, margins
so
and bottom line.
They have a record when they were Wackenhut at Baldwin Youth Authority that they had a higher prison population per guard, because everyone knows, any businessman knows, the number one expense in business is payroll. So you cut payroll, you increase bottom line. So they would have less guards, more prisoners. So there was more prisoner to guard assaults. There were more prisoner to prisoner assaults. There were more attempted suicides and just hideous conditions, and all of that is known. When they were under Wackenhut, they changed their name to Geo Group. They come back, they play the chameleon, and then now they come back as a new and improved. And one thing I know for certain, it is not passed yet, but why would you put 1,500 beds in a facility if you're not 100% sure that you're going to get this thing passed through?
No question. Listen, if this doesn't lend more credence to the fact that from a time, in my opinion, I'm going to play it out there, a minority is a child on his way up, they're waiting for you.
Oh, no doubt.
They're waiting for you.
I just read today
this is more profound than ever before.
The 14-year-old, who unfortunately murdered his mother earlier this year. You remember she was sleeping, and he took a gun and shot her because he was upset because she was disciplining him. He just got sentenced 25 to 50 years at the age of 14. He's going to go to he was tried as an adult. And of course, definitely, I'm not looking at this as the crime is hideous. A 14-year-old killing his mother, anyone killing his mother, is a hideous act. But I'm saying a 14-year-old gets 25 to 50 years sentence today. He's going to go to an adult prison. Earlier today, I participated, and I said on one of the shows, I participated in a program called the Youth Deterrent Program here at Ryan Correctional Facility. They've also opened that at Saginaw Correctional Facility. That's where I went today. I drove through the snow and the freezing rain to get up there. And this is where we bring youth. It's not a Scared Straight program. They're not turning over to, that's theatrics, and that's crap on television.
No question.
And once you get when a person is no longer scared, that's when they become dangerous. So we don't believe in that. We believe in giving you the tools that you can critically think when you get to that fork in the road and you make a decision, do I go left or do I go right? If you end up in prison after going through the Youth Deterrent Program, it's because you purposely wanted to go. You cannot say you weren't warned. You cannot say you didn't have the tools. But the thing is when I'm looking at these youth that we take there, I'm sizing them against the inmate, and I'm saying that child, even though he may be acting up in school and he may be a discipline problem in school, he is not physically, mentally, or psychologically ready to go to prison, because they think prison is what you see on television. It is nothing like that. It is the most savage situation that you could ever be in. But the fact of the matter is, when you are in those situations and you're in a country that sentences children to adult prisons, you sentence children to death penalties and things like that, you cannot say that a 14-year-old, as hideous as the crime is, that when he's 40-something years old, he still has to pay the price for a decision he made at the age of 14.
Let me ask you, I was always led to believe, and I know, it's like I was talking earlier to the guy from the civil rights. The nature of humanity has changed. The nature of the crimes, the dereliction, the downgrade, what's happened to us. But I always thought a 14-year-old would go to a reformatory, or I was in juvenile, until he was 18. Mm-hmm. They're not literally putting this 14-year-old in general population with the adult men.
Most definitely.
When did that start?
That started with what is quote unquote called the Nathaniel Abraham Law.
The kid, the 12-year-old that shot somebody.
And then there was all the debate on whether he should be tried as an adult or should go to juvie and things like that. In his particular case, he did not go. But as you see, he was not prepared to be released either.
Absolutely.
You know, so he ended up committing another crime, and now he's back in, and he's since had some other run-ins with the authorities there. But the fact is, they do put them right there with the adults. You know, from the age of, you can go from the age of 12 to 18 to be tried as an adult. You had the Rib Shack murder earlier this year.
Southfield.
Yes, he got 15 years in an adult prison.
She was pregnant.
You know, she was pregnant. And all these crimes are hideous. But what you have to do, there's the effect. And everyone's looking at the effect. And most mistakes of prison reform, what they quote unquote say, first of all, it's not a correctional facility. It doesn't correct any type of behavior, you know. So the thing is you send them there for them to either perfect their crime. So you look at it and say, okay, the crime, it's hideous, but what makes a 14-year-old kill his mother? What makes a 12-year-old, 13-year-old be involved in a drive-by shooting, involved with an AK-47, involved with a breaking and entering, a carjacking, a robbery, and things like that? The thing is this, there is, like I said before, I've said it 1,000 times, there is a foundational basis that no longer exists with the child. You have children that are making adult decisions, and you have a system, even in the school system. The schools is not preparing a child to go out and fend for himself and go to college and go on and provide for himself and his future. The school is passing people who are failing, who cannot read, who do not have the basic skills to function in society, and they're still being given diplomas. And you're also taking and suspending a child, putting him on the street. No, you're suspended for 10 days. So instead of him being in school, he's falling behind 10 days in school. He doesn't have the skill set to get back caught up once he comes back to school. So he just says, to heck with it. And we all know that if the school's not accepting, there's someone on the corner waiting for that. The prison industrial complex, just like your car runs by gasoline, the prison industrial complex runs by the ignorance of black males and other minorities who do not know that the biggest killer of us is definitely not bullets, it's ignorance.
What do you, and let's take a quick break.
Okay.
And then I want to ask you something when we come back. We'll be right back. We're going to take a quick break.
Done for you lately. Well, let me tell you about just some of his crimes and sins against you and I. The takeover and dismantling of Detroit and Highland Park school system without oversight of the people. Public Act 4, super-empowered emergency managers. The takeover of Detroit's water system. Permanent lifetime removal of women with children of state assistance. No bridge card, no bridge. Ignoring the democratic process, going around the state legislators and his own party to build an unnecessary bridge. The dissent agreement that he rammed down Mayor Bing's throat. Why reward bad behavior? If you want to send a message to the governor, then vote yes on Proposal 6. I'm Minister Malik Shabazz. I approve this message. To volunteer, call 313-646-3375.
Paid for by the Garbage Lady Inc.
We are the faces of Detroit.
We are the faces of Delray.
We are the faces of Delray. Governor Snyder wants to put us out of our homes by building a bridge in our front yard.
Homes where we raised our families.
A community where we buried our loved one.
Delray is struggling, but it's not lifeless. It's a community of hopes and dreams.
Governor Snyder.
Invest,
not destroy.
Hey, come on. Man, what is taking so long? Let's play.
Just getting a number.
Whose number?
Narcotics Anonymous.
Hey, if you need to talk.
No way, it's not for me, it's for my brother. He's constantly wasted. Come on, hoop time. Can you tell me about NA?
Call Narcotics Anonymous. we can help you.
The following program does not reflect the views and opinions of Channel 33, its management, or sponsors. You're watching Power Talk on your community TV station, UHF TV 33, Detroit, Highland Park.
Welcome to Metro Foodland, where you will always find courteous service. Our hardworking staff always gives their all to maintain our dairy fresh and wholesome products, cold cuts, premium meats, and of course, we have some of the freshest produce around. Check out our deli and bistro. We also carry specialty items such as Tanisha Noni, Water Station alkaline water, and much, much more. If we don't have it, just ask, and we'll do our best to get it. Remember to ask how to join our Healthy Rewards Club. Seniors and ladies, always ask for an escort to your vehicle. We'll see you soon at Detroit's own community grocer, Metro Foodland, located at 18551 Grand River. That's 18551 Grand River, near Finkel and the Southfield Freeway. Remember, that's Metro Foodland.
Welcome back to Mixing It Up. I'm your host, Barry Ross, and the show is live on TV 33, Comcast 20. And I have with us tonight, who's been a regular fixture here lately, Minister Victor Muhammad, director of the prison ministry in Michigan. And I, Victor, I just want to say that we know that Englander had cut prison programs, and I guess it was a continuum. But so, like you said, how do they call it correction if you can't go there? The only thing you're going to learn is how to do more of the same of what you've been doing. How do you evolve? We're supposed to be, to the day we die, Victor, we're supposed to learn and grow and better ourselves, forgive, change, evolve. I gotta believe I'm a better man today than I was yesterday. Yes. And I aspire to constantly change. I wasn't always like that. There was a point in my life where I didn't know I had the option to change. But so you put a young man in prison, and he has a hard time changing, but I know that the Nation of Islam, I'd have to say, and I don't know much, my common sense says it's probably the greatest school of modification to become a better person than you would have ever dreamed. And okay, so this is there, the Nation's there, but what about a 14-year-old getting sentenced to prison? And I'm appalled that they're doing this and I didn't even know it. What do you think they need to do? What could we do? What other options do we have instead of 14-year-old to prison from the jump?
Well, the greatest thing about the Nation's program of teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by Minister Farrakhan, the thing is the messenger of Allah has always taught knowledge of self. When you understand who you are and your value is in the world, crime becomes beneath you. You know, the thing is why you see the youth committing such heinous crimes, because there are no roots to that tree. Or if you look over the last 20 years and what has happened and evolved in this country as it pertains to youth, the children have no identities. They are becoming less interpersonal. You know, in our age group, when you were a child, hey, what's your name? I'm Barry. Hey, I'm Victor. Let's go play. But now the children are like this.
Right.
They talk the way they text. Everything's a computer. Everything's a video game. So the interpersonal qualities are lacking. You also have to look at what did this country do? The evolution of these children that are committing these heinous crimes are children of the crack generation. There wasn't a father there. Mother wasn't there. They were passed family to family. There was not the simple emotional touch of a hug or of I love you or I kiss you. So what happens to these children is negative attention is better than no attention. So I act up in school, and then you have a school system that's broke that passes them on through. And the thing is they continue to act up. It starts somewhere else. No one jumps into murder. No one jumps into armed robbery. It's usually a little bit of this. It starts with skipping school. They don't get into that. Oh, I smoke a little weed. Then I went to a little cocaine. Then I advance. Everything is an advancing type of situation. But what happened is the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches you the knowledge of self. It pulls you out of Babylon, this country that is telling you in one thing that they're the greatest authority of the world, but yet they're doing things that you and I don't know about overseas that is causing death and destruction all over the place. Look at it. You have the problems that are going on in the East. You thought that killing Osama bin Laden would change things. You thought that killing Saddam Hussein would change things. Muammar Gaddafi would change things. You don't have peace over there after you've taken the lives of these men. You have more destruction. You went into Iraq under a lie. You said that there was weapons of mass destruction, and you used the good name of Colin Powell to get in there and get credibility of that. Then when you found out it wasn't there, you just was there for regime change. But the fact of the matter is right now, here's where our children lack. And seeing with Sister Angela Davis and listening to her speak, I read Angela Davis' book when I was growing up as a child. Our children are not connected to their history. So, like I've said before on many occasions, if you take a picture of 100 people and you're in the picture, the first person you look for is yourself in that picture. So if you are in class and you don't see yourself in history, you don't see yourself in mathematics, you don't see yourself in science, you don't see yourself in biology, you cannot connect to an educational system that doesn't include you. And Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said in a speech at Bowie State just this past Friday, he said, you are mathematics because your heart beats so many times. And if it falls off the mathematical time chain of how your heart's supposed to beat, you will die. He said, you are science. He said, you know, even to shoot the basketball, you have to measure launch height to get that done. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that because, like you said, there's something that changes you. I'm a changed man because of my encounter of learning from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I'm not the man I was 20-something years ago. I'm a totally different man. I follow the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and it is because in that teaching, it told me who I was. And that's what's lacking with our children. But here's why they took those programs out of prison, because it's bad for business. If I teach you not to come back to prison, who am I going to exploit? Who am I going to pay 10 cents a day to do all of this work while I still make contracts with companies at full price? See, the number one fuel of prison industrial is ignorant black people, ignorant minorities. And that's why you see that we're the highest population that is in the prison system. And the thing is they know this for a fact. When you could get your college degree in prison, 85% of the people who achieved a college degree in prison did not ever come back to prison. So why would I pay for you with the tax dollars? Because Michigan Department of Corrections is the biggest moneymaker for the state of Michigan. So why would I spend tax dollars to keep you out of prison and you stop messing with my profit? So the fact of the matter is we're going to pull those programs out so that you go around. If you was to go to any prison and walk the yard like I've walked the yard, you will see them doing the same thing you see them on Mack and Bewick, on Joy Road, on Schoolcraft, on Connor. They're just hanging. Why? Because they don't want you to learn anything. So when you do get paroled out, you will come out here and hang again, and you will rescind again. You will not have any skill sets that will give you what it takes to make a substantial income to stop you from reverting back to crime. That is what they know. And they know that you're going to go back to prison.
Very profound. Listen, the Nation of Islam predominantly is within the mainframe is within the prison system today, right? Was that always? How old is that the schematics within the Nation and the prison system?
The actual first prison reform minister of the Nation of Islam was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and he went to prison not far from here in Milan, Michigan. He was in Milan, Michigan Federal Correctional Facility for 5 years. He was a model prisoner. And many times the warden will consult him on how to conduct himself because the Muslims went to prison. We were not a problem in prison. We conducted ourselves accordingly. The thing is while the messenger of Allah was in there, of course, there was a lot of pork in there. So he and his followers would not indulge in eating of the pork, and they would show such discipline in fasting and conducting himself in such a well manner that he was often consulted by the wardens on how to resolve issues within the prison. He was our first prison reform minister because at that time they said he was draft evasion. He was over 45 years old at that particular time. But the fact of the matter is that the President of the United States at that time said you cannot have Elijah Muhammad out there while I'm propagating a war, and he's saying black man don't fight in a white man's war. So he took and made that an executive order to have the Honorable Elijah Muhammad put in prison, and many of his ministers were put in prison, and they were conscientious objectors. But the fact matters, we were not fighting in a war that did not get us freedom, justice, and equality, which we already got from Almighty Allah. So he was put in prison. And you hear, of course, we all know about Malcolm X.
Sure.
And how you took a man who dropped out of school in prison, and he followed the teaching of Elijah Muhammad, and he whooped some of the greatest minds all over the country, all over the world. And then you've got the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan today, who is hated by anyone who is a bloodsucker of the poor. And that's the fact, because the only people that have a negative comment about him are those who really, they've called him a lot of things. They've called him a hater. They've called him everything, but they've never called him a liar.
Right. Listen, now you personally, I know you take your work and your mission and your fondness outside. You mentor youth. And if we could get this really, we got to start working on the solution instead of with the problem, I think. More men need to step up. Unfortunately, that's not happening. If we could get more men to mentor these youth here in this city, we could prevent them from going to prison.
I think, like in my case, that is part of by Allah's grace, part of my ministry. Yes, I go to the prison, but by then I've already missed the boat because they're already there.
Right.
But that's why I put together a mentoring program to be a preventive measure to get them before they go.
That's what I'm talking about.
And it's not that there's a lack of mentors, Barry, in the schools and things like this. Not there's a lack of good mentors. See, because there's certain people that are getting money for doing the same thing and getting the same result, and they're getting money hand over because they know someone downtown or they know someone here.
You don't have to be a paid employee or have a business to be a mentor. You can volunteer. You could be a good man that cares enough to adopt. How could they get involved in that?
Well, the thing is we just got to step up. There are a lot of great mentors that are out there. There's a lot of great men. See, just like good men in general, Fox News and all those are not going to run around with the camera chasing the fathers who are taking care of their children and treating them right. And they're not going to follow the mentor that's doing the good job. They're always looking for the failures or looking for this, that, and another. But the thing is this, there's plenty out there, but there's more of a need. You know, we've got situations in the high schools, the middle schools, big brothers and big sisters. They're constantly asking for volunteers. They have a waiting list of young men and women who are trying to connect with a big brother or big sister to just be someone to walk along the way. The difference is that name mentor has been so grossly misused. You know, there's a different thing. Like I say a mentoring program, because in my program I teach you everything, but from how to dress, how to pick out your suit, clothes, hygiene, things like that. I also teach you how to conflict resolute. You know, how to handle situations, how to identify suppressive personalities, those who are how to survive in a dangerous environment, techniques of study. How do you learn how to study?
Now, is this a one-on-one or is this an actual, you're teaching this to other men or youth in a group? Or?
In a classroom, yes.
In a classroom
setting. It's set like a classroom. I start off by administering a test of assessment for violence. After they take this assessment, I like to say it's assessment, it's not a test.
Okay.
It's an assessment. I get to know by grading that particular assessment, what is your acceptability of violence? You know, what have you seen in your life? Are you a gun carrier? Have you seen a lot of violence in your life? Now, because that way I can say, okay, Barry Ross, I've got to study him and work with him in a certain way because he shows a propensity to have a high violence quotient.
Now, how truthful could someone be? Now, I know I trust you. I'm sure you have an aura where you can captivate them and bring them into you to trust, but it's a process, isn't it? How does someone fill out a form to say, yeah, man, I carry a gun all the time?
It's just a questionnaire. And it's as simple as, like the propensity is not to say, hey, I carry guns. The thing is this, okay, it's okay to carry guns. Highly likely.
Wow.
I've seen this many guns in my life. Oh, highly likely. See, it's not really telling you what I do as an individual. It's just telling you what your propensity is.
I understand.
And that's the thing. And as you were saying about trust, there's only two things that I say to get a off-track male back on track is what they need. They need hard love. Hard love. See, most males, we don't know how to love in the way that these young men need to love.
Tell everybody.
I need to love them, not be soft on them, because I'm not trying to be your friend. I'm trying to be your guide. So there's a little bit of hard love. See, they're going to test you. I get tested all the time. I'm going to give you all of these problems. I'm going to be just as disruptive as possible because I want to see if you really love me. Because guess how many adults have failed them over their life?
Everyone.
How many supposed to be their warden and supposed to walk with them amongst life's trials, and they've abandoned them? But also, they need discipline.
Okay, we only have a couple minutes left. I just want to ask you, how do they find you? How do they come to you? Is this a specific program that you have within schools?
It's called the ROPE program. And the ROPE stands for, its acronym for ROPE, Reaching Our People Every Day. You can call me at area code 313-792-2806. That's 313-792-2806. And that is a direct line to my business, Victor Muhammad Enterprises, and I would bring the program to you.
So it's an after-school program?
It's in school, it's after school, it's one-on-one, it's
Okay.
whatever we need, because I know that the next Barack Obama is out there. If we cultivate him and we take the weeds from around his roots and allow him to nurture into that blossoming tree that God put him on this earth to be.
You are a great man. Tell them one more time. Give them your name and your contact.
I'm Brother Victor Muhammad. You can reach me at the number 2, the letter X, MUHAMMAD at AOL.com, Victor, the2X Muhammad at AOL.com, or at 313-792-2806.
I have to thank you for your time. How many children do you have?
7.
He has 7 children and many careers. And coming here from my white you-know-what to come on this show. This concludes the month, and I'm going to have you back when you decide you want to come back for a specific guest you're going to have.
Yes.
Victor Muhammad, everybody.
Thank you.
We're going to say goodnight,
Thanks
and
for
we're going to
listening.
be out
I
on the
greet you in peace.
streets.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu salam. It's 9 p.m. on TV 33. Join me, Barry Ross, on Mixing It Up. We'll feature informative community organizations that will offer solutions to Wayne County residents in reference to employment, safety, and security within neighborhoods, job training, education, and mentoring programs. Remember, Tuesdays, 9 p.m. Join me, Barry Ross, Mixing It Up on TV 33.
1,000 men's suits. And right now at Sermons, you can buy 1 and get 2 free. Not 1 suit, but 2 free. Buy 1 suit, bring 2 friends. Buy 1 suit, bring 2 relatives. Buy 1 suit, get 2 free. Bring your pastor, your boss, your teacher. Buy 1 suit and get 2 free. Sermons with 90 years of experience, carrying jeans, exotic skin shoes, sets, shirts, leather, sweaters, everything for the well-dressed man. Buy 1 suit, get 2 free. Sermons on Randolph in downtown Detroit.